Let's bring in public.com COO Stephen Sikes. Stephen, always good to talk to you. This is kind of a fascinating report for me because often we talk about where the retail money is moving. And your report specifically says that more than half of investors say they're paying closer attention to fundamental metrics. So this whole idea of retail traders all just following the meme stocks, certainly not true, at least what you're seeing on your platform.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's worth, couching who we are and what we do for the audience more broadly, because I think it influences a little bit like who we're speaking to when we talk about this evolving through volatility survey that we ran. So Public obviously is an online investing platform focused on, meeting our members where they are and helping them become great long-term investors by delivering, awesome context, data, content, and a really cool community. And so obviously, as we think about building a brand and business around really helping people be great long-term investors, I think when you look at this segment of the retail investor population and our segment of the retail investor population, you see something that maybe is in contrast to I think what people generally assume about retail investors, which is sort of what you're highlighting. And so our survey very clearly shows that actually our investors are absolutely sort of reacting to the volatility in the way that I think the broader sort of financial world would hope, right? They're making responsible decisions. They're focusing more on fundamentals, increasing diversification, and not making those sort of emotional short-term decisions that I think the evidence would show lead to sort of worse long-term outcomes.
You mentioned diversification, certainly key for those investors who are on your platform. Where is that money moving to?
Yeah, I think we've seen an increased adoption of sort of index ETFs and passive ETFs over time. I think we've seen increasing flows into sort of broad market strategies as sort of individual concentrated strategies perform worse, right? And I think we've seen the evidence that a lot of the high flyers over the last few years that did gather a lot of retail attention haven't performed as well, through this cycle. And so I think we've absolutely seen more of a pivot towards ETFs. And I think we're excited to see that in our platform, right? I think as we think about, again, going back to our mission to really help people get the most out of the public markets, ETF ownership is very important.
I want to point to this specific chart we're showing right now, where retail investors are putting their money, at least looking at the top categories. Clean energy at the very top, electric vehicles, followed by emerging tech. I mean, does that kind of run counter to this idea that they are investing on fundamentals? Because if you look at clean energy names, electric vehicles, I mean, these are high growth companies that aren't necessarily profitable.
Yeah, certainly. And I think we've seen over the last, 6 to 12 months, I think we've seen a lot of those categories actually be those that have sort of returned to more like reasonable long-term multiples, right? And I think, seeing those rank so highly, I think it says to us, hey, there is this intersection of sort of opportunism with themes that I think, retail investors tend to care about.
And we are, of course, this week really focusing on Fed speak, given what's playing out in Jackson Hole. But I wonder if you look at the investors who are on your platform, how closely are they watching the policy side of this, the monetary policy, as opposed to earnings and, other ways to trade in terms of where they put their money?
Yeah, I think we see discussions across both, right? I think we have a large, vibrant community of members talking about sort of both ends of the market, right? More fundamental micro analysis and more macro analysis. I think we see really informed and interesting discussions on both ends of the spectrum. So I don't know that I would pick one or the other. I think, if you ask me off the top of my head, my bias would be, I think we do see more discussion around fundamentals, individual companies and individual sectors and themes more so than sort of overall macro. But then we have a week where there's a Fed rate announcement, and that sort of dominates all of the attention in the community. So certainly, I think over the long run, we definitely see more on the sort of fundamental side, but macro absolutely has its spikes.
And finally, Stephen, one number that kind of stood out to me in your study: 64% of investors say they have the same level, if not greater, trust in the stock market today. Is that surprising to you, given the declines that we have seen in meme stocks, although we have seen the bounce back recently, but especially the pullback that we've seen in crypto? We know a lot of retail investors had put their money there. And yet here we are saying that investors feel even more trust in the market.
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's encouraging, and it's sort of one of the things that we've really tried to push forward with our company is the common narrative over the last several years is, as we've seen this wave of retail investor adoption and we've increased sort of participation in the public markets, that if we did enter, if we did leave the bull market period and recent investors would start to see sort of red numbers or negative returns over some period of time, that might undermine their appetite for investing in the future. And I think this retail study really contradicts that narrative. And it says very clearly that, yes, retail investors have come into the market in droves over the last several years. Yes, they are weathering a more challenging time as investors, but they're learning from it and they're continuing to improve their skills and build the investing muscle that they'll need to have great long-term investing outcomes. And honestly, it's refreshing to see, and it's one of those things that I think is a nice counter narrative to have out there relative to sort of what you might hear overall.
Well, we always love having you on to get some insight into the mind of retail investors. Public.com COO Stephen Sikes, good to have you on today.